Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be doing a fountain pen ink showdown. Now this video, it's been on my list to do for about 6 months, and every time I get near to doing it, I end up putting it off. So I thought, right, let's just bite the bullet and go ahead with it. Then I thought, well, it's going to go out in December, so in a way it's good because it's 2 red inks. They're both by Diamine. I'm going to be looking at Diamine Poppy Red and comparing that against Diamine Wild Strawberry. Both nice bright red inks. So join me now down on the mat. We'll look at the swatches, look at the chromatography, do some writing, and I'll give you my thoughts on these. Here we are down on the mat. Here's our 2 inks. So both by Diamine. We've got Poppy Red and Wild Strawberry. And even here on the labels, we can see a little bit of a difference there in the colours. Let's get these out of the way because really the bottles don't tell us too much, do they? Here's the swatch cards. This is where we start to see a little bit about the inks. So at the top, we've got Diamine Poppy Red. Then at the bottom, Diamine Wild Strawberry. The big difference I see is the Wild Strawberry. It seems a deeper red. It's more saturated to me. Whereas with the Poppy Red, it's got more orange tones to it. And certainly I've seen that the ink from these two that I tend to gravitate towards is actually the Poppy Red, because it's got that little bit more. I want to say it's an interest when I see these orange tones. I still like the Wild Strawberry, but it's not one that's really grabbing me all the time. Let's turn these over and we'll look at the chromatography. Wow, this is where we see a massive difference, don't we? Both these were done using the same method. So I draw a line along the paper, then I dip the paper to just under the line, just into cold water from the tap. I then leave it in the water for 15 seconds. I take it out and I put it to the side to let the ink finish going up the page and to dry. We see such a big difference. So on the Poppy Red, it doesn't seem to spread anywhere near as much. We've got the nice, really dark line there at the bottom. We've got a fringe of, I'm actually going to say it's more like a pale purple. Then we go to bits of orange and then yellow at the top. On the Wild Strawberry, it spreads a lot further. We've got more pink tones in there. And as we're going up, we get a little bit of orange again, maybe more peachy rather than orange. Then at the top, we've got a nice band of yellow coming through. Both interesting. Now, the only problem is chromatography and swatch cards don't really tell you much, do they? You need to see the ink being written with. So what we're going to do, I'm going to fetch in this. This is Oxford Optic paper. It's a really nice fountain pen friendly paper. It's one that I use all the time. What I'm going to write with is this. This is a dip pen. It's a Serendipity dip pen. So what I'll be doing is I'll be dipping the pen in the ink. I'll dip it a couple of times. I take it out, shake it over the bottle. I've got a bit of scrap paper here. I scribble off a little bit just to make sure that I've taken like all the excess off, and then I'll come in and we'll do the writing. We'll start by looking at Poppy Red. So there's the bottle. So there goes the pen in once. There it goes for the second time. So we've got here Diamine Poppy Red. I quite like this. Drying times, I know, not very indicative, but that's immediate. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. Going to go on to the next line. 1 minute. Whilst that's drying, I'm going to write a sentence. I'm also going to just do a quick scribble then. Again, just whilst that ink that 1 minute's going. So it's got all the way across the page and there's still ink to spare. After a minute, yeah, still a bit on the wet side. I'm not going to do a 2-minute test because it's been dipped. I really don't think there's much value to be gained from actually doing these wetness tests, but I just like to keep it standard. I'm just going to step away from my desk and I'm going to give the nib a good clean before we look at the next pen. Okay, the pen's had a good clean, so here we go. Time to look at the second ink. Here, we've got Wild Strawberry. So exactly the same as I did with the other one. Dip the nib in twice. Take off any excess on my notebook. And then we'll come in and we'll write. So we've got Diamine. Wild Strawberry. Drying times, 1 minute. No, that wasn't, was it? That was immediate. I'm really jumping ahead now. 10 seconds. I'm going to go to the next line. 30 seconds. 1 minute. And just like before, I'll do my sentence. And then my scribbles. After a minute, still really wet. So of the two inks, this one, the Wild Strawberry, definitely the wetter of the two. Got nice red hands now as well. I'm going to put this over to one side to carry on drying because we've seen how wet it is. Whilst it's doing that, this is 52 GSM Tomoe River paper. Now, unfortunately, I haven't been able to test both these inks in the same pen, so we've got to bear that in mind. The first one, the Wild Strawberry, I used here in this Moonman Homage on C3. This has got a fine nib. It's nice, it's a nice colour, but I don't know, it just doesn't jump off the page at me. You know, I enjoyed using it, but I certainly think for that fine nib, yeah, not an ink for a fine nib. I need to try this in a broader nib, and I just haven't had the opportunity to do that yet. If we contrast that, though, against the Poppy Red, I'm just going to try and show you there, side by side, we can see, you know, there is a definite difference in colour, but we have to remember this Poppy Red, that was in a medium nib in a Jinhao 100. And in this Jinhao 100, I've loved this ink. I'm on about the third fill of it. It's just so nice. I enjoy using it. Again, I'm calling out, I don't use it often enough. You know, it's a nice pen. It's a nice ink. It's bright. It's in your face. It looks so much nicer than what I'm seeing with that Wild Strawberry. Let's get this out of the way. I'll fetch in another book. This is 68 GSM Tomoe River. I'll hide that top writing so it doesn't distract you. So what I've done, as I was doing my writing samples, I wrote just the name of the ink in here, just again so we can see the difference. The Wild Strawberry on here looks ever so slightly redder, whereas the Poppy Red, it's got more, it's like a pinky or an orangey tone, rather than the more red that I see with the Wild Strawberry. But again, it's very, very subtle is the difference. I could use either of them and easily get them confused. We'll fetch back in our notepad of testing that we've been using. Even on here, we're not seeing a lot of difference in the colour. We saw a lot of difference in the wetness. So that's something to bear in mind if you're going to be using these two inks. You know, if you want a wetter ink, maybe look at the Wild Strawberry. If anything, on this paper, I would say the Poppy Red is now looking of a brighter red than I'm seeing with the Wild Strawberry. The Wild Strawberry is a bit darker. Remember, both of these done with a dip pen, so not exactly what you're going to see if you use a fountain pen, but it gives you a good idea. I don't mind either of these inks. So far, I've tended to be reaching for Poppy Red. But I think that's because I haven't tried the Wild Strawberry in a suitable pen. As I said when we looked at the 52 GSM paper, that fine nib, just too fine, wasn't letting the ink come through. I actually would like to try it in a stub nib. I wonder what it'd be like in a stub. That's worth me having a look about. But I like both these inks. Yes, they're nice, they're red, they're bright. Red's not a colour I often use. It's one I'm trying to force myself to have at least one pen inked up each month with an ink in the red family. So I think I need to try and make myself use this Wild Strawberry, get that into a medium or a broad, or as I say, a stub nib, and experiment around with it. So they're just my thoughts on Diamine Poppy Red and Diamine Wild Strawberry. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Have you got these inks? What are your thoughts on them? Do you like using them? I've got loads of different reds, so hopefully over the next year I'll be able to do a few more comparisons of red inks. Please drop any comments down below. Let's kickstart a conversation. Please hit the thumbs up button. Every time you like, every time you comment, just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.